Apple just released iOS 26 and your entire iPhone looks a lot different. Today, I want to show you the updated design and all the new stuff you can customize, a bunch of features that I can't believe Apple has finally added, as well as some hidden changes that I haven't seen anywhere else. So if you just updated your iPhone, let me walk you through everything that's new. Alright, there's so much good stuff to get to, starting first on the home screen. When you move your phone left or right, everything has a shine effect on it now with a parallax that really reminds me of iOS 7. Now all the app icons have been refreshed, but they're still pretty familiar. So if you want a more dramatic look, tap and hold, go to edit in the top left, customize, and then go to the clear icon option. This is brand new for iOS 26 and makes everything on your home screen, even the widgets, fully translucent. Plus they've made the color tinting better with iOS 26 too. So if you want them to all be one color, I think this looks way nicer with these icons than how it did last year in iOS 18. But the new glass look isn't just limited to the home screen. It's in all of your toggles in Control Center, it's across all of Apple's apps that have been updated, and it's also on the lock screen, specifically for the clock at the top, which is pretty cool. Apple has added the ability to make it much smaller or larger than before, literally taking up like all of your lock screen now. And if you use something like the Photo Shuffle wallpaper, the clock adapts in real time to your images, so there's no further work required from you. As you cycle through, the clock automatically updates, which is really cool. My favorite part of the lock screen though is these new spatial scenes, where Apple has separated the subject from the background, and as you move your phone, it dynamically shifts with a 3D parallax. Whenever you update it, it'll automatically do it for some of your photos, but you can actually go into the new Photos app, which they've fixed, by the way. There are tabs back at the bottom, so it is usable once again. And in pretty much any photo that you've taken, you can tap on that, and then there's this new spatial icon in the top right. You select that, and then it automatically performs this 3D process, and you can shift it around in the Photos app, or again, set that as your wallpaper. Now, the Messages app in iOS 26 also got a lot of big updates, starting off with the ability to set a wallpaper background for your conversation. When you tap on somebody's icon, you can set a wallpaper either for that one-on-one or even for your entire group chat, and yes, you can set this to actually anything you want. And yeah, you can do cursed photos too. I am shocked that Apple has allowed this, and I don't know if it'll be here forever, so enjoy it while it lasts. They also upgraded group chats specifically with the ability to send polls. So rather than having to ask everyone individually what they want to do for plans, you just send out a poll. You can add a couple of different options and everybody votes, and it'll also show you what everyone voted for. They've also put typing indicators in group chats as well, so you can finally see when somebody is thinking about your messages or responding before it was just completely blank. Apple's also added the ability to copy just part of a message instead of the entire thing now. With iOS 26, tap and hold to go down to select, and you can now drag the selector around whatever words, sentences, or numbers you want to. And in the main view of the Messages app, it should be less cluttered with iOS 26 because Apple now sorts unknown senders in their own section by default. It's sort of a screener for everything before it makes it into your main inbox. And as someone who gets a ton of those random ads, I'm so excited this is here. However, if you want to make sure you don't miss anything, there is the option to turn off this filtering in settings and make it go back to the way it was before. Next, the phone app in iOS 26 has some even bigger changes as Apple's introduced a new unified view for your favorites, your recents, and your voicemails all in one place. If you tap in the top, there is a way to go back to the old version, but I do think the new one is way cleaner. But for some reason, Apple just completely hid all the cool stuff underneath. Like if you've missed somebody's call and you don't want to forget to call them back, you can now slide over on that and set a reminder directly within the phone app right here. You can also tap on someone's icon to see their full profile, as well as an extensive call log telling you how many conversations you've had and how long you've talked each of those times. Plus, it is easier than ever to change your ringtone. You can now set any MP3 file that you have downloaded to your phone as a ringtone without any workaround whatsoever. Just grab a random MP3 from the internet, save it to your Files app, go tap on More down below in the Share section, and then right there at the very end, you'll see Set as your ringtone. And from there on out, directly on iPhone, you can change your ringtone as often as you want. Now, one of my favorite parts about iOS is that Apple has finally allowed us to put a VPN toggle directly in Control Center. And to make good use of that, I partnered up with Surfshark, who sponsored today's video. Surfshark enables you to browse the internet privately and securely, and especially when you're on something like a public Wi-Fi network, it makes sure that all the private stuff stays private and trackers and snoopers can't see what you're up to. Surfshark is also great for watching movies and TV shows that aren't available in your region. Like if you want to watch something on Netflix UK, you just log into that server with Surfshark and then you can watch it from wherever you are in the world. And with more than 3,200 servers in over 100 countries globally, basically unlimited access for all your devices and no logs tracking, Surfshark VPN is just my favorite option. Since I started using Surfshark, I feel like I got a little bit of privacy back when I'm browsing online, and that is something I didn't think was possible in the year 2025. So go to surfshark.com/AppleTrack or use code AppleTrack at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. A huge thank you to them for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. Now, next up, Apple didn't make AI a core part of iOS 26, but there are a couple of cool new AI-specific features. The first is that when you take a screenshot, you can now circle what's on your screen directly and perform some action based off of that, like asking a question about what you circled or just seeing some other images from Google. If somebody sent you a shirt, for example, that you really like, just circle to search and it'll come up with that result on Google. Genmoji has also gotten a lot better by the ability to mix different emojis together in what Apple has called Mixmoji, so you don't have to just manually describe exactly what you want. You could put a couple of things together and it will come out with a result that I have found way more reliable and consistent than the previous feature. Sometimes though, you just need a custom AI image from scratch, and Apple has added ChatGPT directly into Image Playground. So rather than using their own models that are definitely a bit behind it, this plugs directly into ChatGPT and can offer a number of pretty unique illustration styles that I did not think we would see native on the iPhone. Apple's also using AI pretty creatively in regards to managing your battery in iOS 26, as you can now see this whole new view in your battery tab that gives you some analysis about your usage and compares it to your historical trends. To make your battery life better, if you scroll down, Apple's also introduced a new power mode option called Adaptive Power, which they say looks at your usage and makes a couple of small tweaks in the background that you wouldn't really notice, but that could give you an extra % or 2 when you need it. We don't know exactly how extensive this is, but I'm definitely going to be trying this out and seeing if I notice a meaningful difference with adaptive on versus off. And when you do run out of power and it's time to recharge, you can now get an estimate for your charge time on the lock screen. It'll flash up at the very top, giving you a charging estimate to when you hit 80% or 100%, which is so useful. Following that, the camera app in iOS 26 looks a lot different. Apple has completely toned down and simplified the design so that by default, only the photo and video modes are showing. Now you can swipe left or right to switch between these or see all of them by swiping around on the bottom of their screen, but they are hidden by default. Your media settings are now hidden in the top left, and pretty much everything else is in a submenu in the top right. So it does take an extra step to enable some things now. But Apple does want your photos to look even better than ever, and that's why if your lens is dirty, AI can now detect that and tell you to wipe off your camera lens and make sure it's clean so that your photo comes out as well as it can. The music app in iOS 26 is another area where it feels like Apple just took everything we've been wanting forever and said, all right, here you go all at once. Like on the main page, you can now pin albums or songs or playlists to the top of your display just like the Messages app. So if there's something you're always going back to, it's now just a tap away and it's located right at the top as soon as you open your music app. Probably the most viral new feature is the auto mix, which is a DJ transition algorithm between a couple of songs. And I'll put it this way, when it works, it's incredible. I've seen some absolutely wild stuff that I unfortunately can't show you because of copyright reasons. Although I do want to caveat by saying it does miss sometimes catastrophically, and the transition is horrible and worse than just 2 songs playing over each other. So I know Apple's going to keep tweaking this as it goes, but you should listen to it because it's pretty cool. Apple Music for a while has supported these animated album artwork covers that take up your entire screen, and now with iOS 26, you can see that in full view on the lock screen. So even after leaving the music app, you can see this while you're out and about on your iPhone, which is super clean. And when you're listening to music in a different language than your own, iOS 26 can now automatically translate the lyrics. So in real time as you're listening to the song, you can also see what that artist is saying in whatever language you speak. As for this last feature, I don't really know who it's for, but you can add playlist folders now. So I guess if you have a crazy large library or you want to group multiple playlists next to each other. As for this last feature, I don't really know who it's for, but you can add playlist folders now. So I guess if you have a crazy large library or you want to group multiple playlists next to each other, you can do that with folders directly in the music app too. Maybe the best new feature though in this entire video is found in the clock app, as iOS 26 allows you to change your default snooze time for alarms. Previously, and since 2007, this was some uneditable arbitrary 7-ish minutes, but now you can change it between 1 and 15 minutes, whatever your heart desires. Yeah, I don't know why it took like 20 years to change, but You can set your snooze duration now. That's pretty sick. Finally, iOS 26 also introduces 2 new apps on the iPhone. The first is Preview, which might look familiar if you've ever owned a Mac. This is now a full-featured PDF editor directly on the iPhone. So you can fill out forms, you can sign things without needing to go to an iPad or scan something on your phone. This is really well built, and I was actually impressed with the functionality after spending just a little bit of time with it. This is a killer addition that I have not seen many people mention. The other app though, which is Apple Games, is way more random. It's just kind of a hub for all of the games on your phone, which you can use as a games launcher, as well as tracking things like your friends' progress. It's like Game Center reincarnated. Maybe I feel like this just because I'm somebody who doesn't extensively game on my iPhone, but the overall look and functionality does seem to be a bit redundant, especially from things we've had in the past. Even so, iOS 26 as a whole is the update I have been asking Apple for. It feels a little bit riskier with the new design. There are so many new actually useful features. They didn't overload it with a bunch of the AI stuff like last year, and it feels more stable than iOS 18 at the same time. I don't know how Apple's done it. Now, to be fair, the battery life is not all the way there yet. I have definitely noticed a hit on my iPhone, but it's worth it for everything Apple has brought to the table here. So if you enjoyed this video or you learned something new, drop a like down below and hit subscribe for more videos like this in the future. All right, I'll see all of you in my next video. Bye-bye.